Hello everybody, Ace here, giving it to you straight with day 23 of the video log challenge. And today I wanted to talk to you about communicating and how important it is for our own self-care. Not many people talk about communication as a form of self-care, but what I'm learning is that, at least for me personally, and I know from a lot of people I know, when I don't communicate how I feel properly, when I don't communicate to the people that I love that are closest to me properly, I actually go down. It actually takes me down. I start getting really stressed. I start getting really anxious. And it sometimes even puts me into a depression because I'm not doing the right work at the right time, which is having those awkward conversations with people, even though you may feel bad about it. You don't want to ruffle feathers. You don't want to rock the boat. You don't want to hurt their feelings. But there are ways to communicate how we feel in a way that doesn't offend people. And then if they do get offended, you know you put your best foot forward and then you don't get triggered. Because a lot of times when you communicate to people how you feel, especially with the way they're treating you, that might actually trigger them. That might trigger their ego and they may come after you. But as long as you keep your cool and you keep communicating properly, that is how I believe we can kind of get our way without it being too big of a fallout or too big of a problem. And something else I've realized on my path of healing, and as I've grown more confident in myself, and I started gaining more self-trust, which helps to breed the ability to communicate with those, especially closest to us, about how we truly feel, about the vulnerabilities of where we're at, and also with how people are treating us and how we may not necessarily like it. So, what is effective communication, right? What is effective communication? Effective communication is truly speaking your mind immediately. There's ways to do it that you don't have to hurt somebody's feelings, but if somebody offends you, you can either ask them, what did you mean by that? Or you could say something like, I don't like the way that you said that to me. It made me feel this way, and I'd appreciate it if you wouldn't talk to me that way. And that's hard to do. You know, a lot of us have this, we create these scenarios in our heads that people are going to get in this giant argument. But then all of a sudden we continue to pack on that lack of communication. So we're letting people walk all over us, and all of us, eventually our egos handle the situation and freak out. They get loud, they shut down, they do something stupid, or we self-destruct a little bit, all because we didn't communicate, all because we didn't have our own backs, and all because we weren't telling the people closest to us that the way you're treating me is unacceptable and that I deserve to be treated with more respect. And that's the key, going back to the respect part. If you want healthy relationships, you have to have respect. And in order for respect to seat in a relationship, there needs to be communication. There needs to be boundaries. And there needs to be people's ability to have awkward conversations and say, hey, I don't like the way you're doing that. I don't like the way you're treating me. What did you mean when you said that? What did you mean by that action that you did? What did you mean when you told your friend this? People are very unconscious. That's a big theme in these videos for me, is how unconscious people are, simply because we live in a very rough world with a lot of trauma, and therefore we're constantly bullshitting each other, constantly bullshitting ourselves, and no one really knows what the truth is, especially of ourselves, and therefore communicating is even that much more difficult. So how are we supposed to communicate how we feel if we don't even know how we feel, or at least trust that how we're feeling is true and not so much right or wrong, but it's real to us? And we have to acknowledge our feelings. And when we tell somebody that's mistreating us or doing something that we don't appreciate, when we tell them, we hope that they receive it well. But it's also in how we deliver that message. If somebody is doing something you don't like and you're not saying anything, and you get so frustrated because you're not saying anything that you yell at them and you make them feel bad about something, they're not mind readers. They're doing what they're doing. I'm the same way. I'm doing what I'm doing. I tell people all the time in relationships, especially new ones, you know, if I'm doing something you don't like, please let me know. I don't want to do anything to make someone uncomfortable. I don't want to do anything to hurt somebody's feelings or make someone annoyed or pissed off at me. I expect that communication. What's funny is that I don't then communicate with them that well, and I get pissed off when there's a lapse of communication, and then all of a sudden an argument or something like that happens, and now I don't understand what's going on. It was because I was too scared to communicate on my end. Oftentimes I've found that 80% of the time, 80%, because there's a lot of ego out here, but 80% of the time that we communicate first, immediately, and in the right tone, in the right delivery, that people receive it and they're, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know I was doing that. But if you come at them all twisted, you come at them all crazy, then all of a sudden now you look irrational. You look like the person that has the issue, and now they have a leg to stand on, and they could be the victim. And now you've just ruined that opportunity to get what you want and actually strengthen the relationship, because only through communication can we strengthen our relationships. It's true. In reality, the only thing we have to give to people in this life is attention. And part of attention is communicating. It's giving your vision, it's giving your attention, and then verbalizing what it is you see and observe about someone. People appreciate that, especially if you're someone that's doing the right work at the right time and being a beacon of change. People will take to that. But you also have to be the person to do it first for yourself. You have to be the one to communicate. You have to be the one to set boundaries. You have to be the one to check people when they try to cross that boundaries. Because if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. It's human nature. It's just what we do. And as warriors of light, as warriors on this planet, trying to put down our shield and our sword and trying to live a life of more love and light and being the beacons for others to emulate, we have to be okay with people freaking out on us when we speak our mind. We have to be okay with people pushing our boundaries. We have to be okay with people doing all the things that people do and not take it personal, so that we can keep checking them. When we start making narratives and storylines about it, oh, I just don't want to deal with it. I put on this mask because I just don't want to deal with it. Do you know what that's doing to yourself? When you don't speak your mind, or when you do something like put on a mask when you know in your heart of hearts it's not the right thing to do. Some people, that's fine. Some people, they like the mask. That's great. But if you're putting on a mask and it goes against your moral standards and your moral code inside, you're decaying your spirit. You're decaying the connection within you. And that's why a lot of people are stressed out. That's why people get stressed or sick. That's why people get upset, depressed, anxious. It's because they're not listening to themselves, and they're not communicating with themselves, and therefore they're not able to communicate with others. And one of the big things that we need to do and learn to do is have those awkward conversations, not only with others, but with ourselves. We need to be willing to say, hey, we might be full of shit. We need to be willing to say, hey, that might have been on us. You know, we have to use self-reflection as our tool, so that if we're trying to shepherd humanity, if we're trying to guide humanity out of this mess, out of this darkness, then we need to be willing to do it first. And we need to be willing to have patience. And we need to be willing to listen and to observe and to stop and to breathe and to communicate. As long as we're continuing to communicate with ourselves, with others, with God, with the universe, we'll be okay. Because at the end of the day, communication, that's all we have. It's all vibration and frequency. You know, that's why the English language is as powerful as it is, and that's why it's a whole world language now, is because it's as much a slave language as a language to create with. It's a magical language. It's a language of spells and spelling and curses and cursive, right? So communicating is very important. But communicating is more than just words. It's more than just verbal. It's your body language. It's your energy. It's everything. It's how you look at somebody. It's how you pay attention to somebody. It's the energy that you're pushing towards them when they're speaking with you. It's the energy you're pushing towards them when you're speaking with them. There's so much that goes into communication. They say only 7% of communication is verbal. I've had full-blown conversations with people who didn't even speak the same language as me, because I can read micro-expressions, I read energy, I speak with my hands, I can kind of understand where a conversation is going, considering the fact that only 7% of communication is verbal. And that's, again, why communication is so important for us in terms of self-care, in terms of taking care of ourselves, because generally speaking, us not sticking up for ourselves, us not communicating properly, us not communicating effectively, us expecting people to read our minds, expecting people to just be or do whatever we want them to do or think. And then if we do want people to change in a way that, or change the way they deal with us in a way, then we passively aggressive comment them, or we come at them twisted, or we come at them in an explosion, and then we never get what we want, and then we become bitter and resentful, and it's a whole thing. And so today I just wanted to jump on and leave you with the importance of communicating effectively, the importance of having those awkward conversations in your life, and how communicating from a self-care vantage point is imperative. So if you liked what you've seen and heard today, hit that like button. If you want to join the army of energy, hit that subscribe button. If you want to see more content like this, check me out on Instagram at Conspiracy Realists. Again, I'm on day 9 of DURT, and the Hemi-synch Gateway Challenge. Doing awesome, feeling great. Mine's feeling wonderful even during this crazy time. So the links will be in the description below. I highly suggest checking them out. Trace minerals and next level meditation is awesome. The crows are going crazy as they always do, like a gang of crows that come through my backyard. It's nuts. But I really, really appreciate you all, and I hope you all have a great day. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you.